Hello,
Hey,
everybody. Hi, Charlene. Hi, Tina Martins. Good to see you. And hi, Greenwood Games. Hope you're all doing great. And our guest today is Eric from Dreadmaps. How are you doing, sir?
I'm well. Thank you. Yes. Hectic morning here with the children, but I'm ready to talk about my maps and RPGs. So thanks for having me.
Hey, it's a pleasure. I mean, you do make some pretty amazing maps. So,
Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah. I try to set myself apart just with the level of detail and intricacies that I craft each map with. So maybe we could go over some of that today.
we
That would be
definitely
good.
will
Yeah.
because the samples that we were like, whoa.
Yeah.
But before we get there, would you like to tell us a bit more about yourself, like who you are, how you started gaming, how you started map making?
Yeah, so that would be excellent. So Dungeons and Dragons was actually introduced to me in college, so 20 years ago now. um, and I just was actually always a Magic the Gathering player, and
Ouch. Okay.
there was some sort of crossover there, right? So one time, I was playing Magic with a friend, and they introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons, and my first character was a barbarian orc, and no role playing, just hitting things really hard and having a good time, and that was my first experience with it. And ever since then, it's just I just kind of been hooked on it. There was a time when I took a break after college. I had my first child and stuff, but really the flame was reignited when the a few friends that I work with now wanted to play, so I offered to uh, game master for them, and I started researching like, okay, I don't remember how to play. Like, what's the latest on this? So I happened to stumble upon when I was looking for like scenario ideas. I found this Drunken and Dragons YouTube channel, which now we know is Runehammer. And he really introduced me to like a different way of thinking about it. All my friends from college used to uh, kind of just run what was published from like 3.5 at the time. I think we played 3.5 Dungeons and Dragons proper. So Hank really introduced me to just this whole mindset, kind of like you didn't need an official Dungeons and Dragons product to like really run your game. And then of course he came out with Index Card RPG. So it was his mindset of like room encounters and how to challenge your players in a almost a system agnostic way that I really learned how to I really fell in love with it all over again in a whole different way. So when I started playing with my friends from work, I found this incarnate map program. This is like 4 years ago now. And all it could do at the time was make a world map. So I just
Okay.
made a little quick world map and, a couple points of interest here and there. And then we got our game going. Um, when COVID hit, uh, I was like, man, I have all this creative energy and nothing to do with it. So I just decided to re-evaluate this incarnate program, and I'm like, oh, they can do battle maps now. And that really piqued my interest because when I was mastering for my friends, I would spend hours and hours trying to find the perfect map for this thing I had in my head. I would spend like 3 hours maybe trying to find like, oh, this is a tavern, but I needed to have like a back door here because my encounter idea like really needs that. So I would spend hours sifting through images online to use. And then I thought to myself one day, why am I spending 3 hours on this? I'm an artist. I've been an artist my whole life. Like maybe I should just make my own maps. So uh here we are.
Yeah,
I've been
definitely
doing it
sets
for
the
like,
tone.
yeah, I've been doing it for like 2.5 years now, and I've come a long way since I decided to do this. And so my latest is just trying to reach out to other creatives. I've worked with Runehammer previously on Underwall. It's out on Drive Through RPG, and more recently, I worked with DM Scotty for Easy D6. I released a Foundry module for the pest control um, quest, which is in his second book, the Book of Quests. So I designed the spider hive and the town of Marplewood, um, and that seemed to be like what people want. So I'm just constantly reaching out to other creatives now and just trying to make maps for them because there's a good synergy there, right?
Oh, yeah,
There's
absolutely.
writers like Hank that are just killing it with their content and their systems and stuff. And I personally like Easy D6 right now. That's kind of my bread and butter, just because I'm a dad of two, and I don't have a lot of time to prepare anymore. There's no more 3 hours to find a map. It's like I have a half an hour before the session. Let's go. So Easy D6 allows me to introduce new people that I haven't played with before, and they're up and running in like 5 minutes. So it fits my needs currently. So
So, do you mostly play online, or do you also do printouts of the maps? How do you work usually?
yeah, so I do play mostly online now. But before COVID, I was in person with my friends from work, and I do prefer in person. But my schedule and life requirements and stuff, it's just
Yeah, makes sense.
more practical for me to just fire up a Discord and play with my friends for the 2 hours that I happen to have that evening when I'm not, helping kids with their schoolwork or going to softball with them or, so yeah.
So, a second, let's just say hello to Mia Gigd, Chris, and Dungeon Matron, and David Rush, who just joined us. And Dungeon Matron is asking, Karl, are you going to tell him how you burned Marplewood to the ground?
Oh, yeah. So in the maps that I've created, right, in the module itself, it says when you beat the queen spider, right, that's like the last boss, the whole hive collapses, right? And I was able to create a transparency image, right, that you can lay on top of the town, and it looks like it's caved in. So it combines two maps together, and it makes it look really interesting. So
Yeah, when we ran through that, Lisa was running it for us, and basically what happened is that our party decided that, look, there's a forest that's full of spiders. The easiest way out is just to burn the hole first.
yeah,
Problem
yeah,
solved.
problem solved.
We also kind of accidentally burned down the town and stuff like that, but details.
Well, yeah, I love when that's the great thing about playing, right? Your your expectations are always subverted,
Yeah, no
and you're
kidding.
like you might have an idea like here's 10 things I think they might do, and then they always do 10 other 10 other things. They might do one or two things that you had in mind, but they always take that hard right turn, and then you're like, oh, this is cool, like where is this going to go? So yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite things about playing is you just never know where you're going to end up. So yeah.
So, and you
So
mentioned,
the
no, no, please go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, yeah. So the maps I sent you, or for my latest project, I'm actually doing for John, and he's from Tale of the Manicore, which is
Okay, I think I've
one
patched
of
you.
my favorite podcasts. It's a dark fantasy podcast. He has like professional voice actors, and
Oh, nice.
it's basically an audio play, right? But it's decided with um, roles like it's a D&D game, and he has levels for each of the characters on the show and everything. So it's a really good blend of the two things. And when I'm driving to work or whatever, right, I love listening to
Okay,
it. So that's
so
what I do.
what did you say it was called? Tales of the Manticore?
Tale of the Manticore.
Tale of the Manticore. Okay, I'm definitely going to
Yeah.
look that up later. Oh, hi Sean, good to see you. Before we
Yeah.
jump into
So,
the
oh,
pictures,
sorry, go
one
ahead.
question. You mentioned that you're GMing for people at work. So are you like a forever GM now, or do you still get to play as a player and stuff?
Yeah, I do get to play as a player from time to time, and honestly, I don't get to play as much as I'd like. So my 2024, resolution is actually play more tabletop RPGs, and find the time for that. Last year it was just kind of like head down making maps, trying to find networking opportunities with other creators. But now I'm just ready to get back to like the fun part. Like, not that mapping's not fun, but I do miss playing a lot. So
Yeah, I mean, speaking from the crafting side of things and gluing stuff together, it's like I get more ideas for things to craft when I'm playing. If I'm just, just crafting in isolation, you don't, you know, there's something missing there.
right.
Still fun, but there's something missing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. So
want to tell us about the Goddard estate? Starting with that one.
yeah. Now I don't want to spoil anything, but
Okay.
in the last like 3 or 4 episodes of the show, the party is tasked with infiltrating this manor where a lord lives. And he actually describes it, right, as the characters walking through it, sneaking through it. He described it on his show, and I reached out to him and I'm like, this is a really good opportunity. I want to make a map for you and your listeners. And he sent me a diagram, which was just kind of like very simple. But the more I asked about the diagram, the more kind of this came into my head, and we went back and forth for a while. That's the second floor, yeah. And we he was very receptive and kind, and when I sent him the final maps, he was blown away, and I just hope that he and his listeners get some use out of it, because I really put a lot of effort into this. I think it's one of my best map packs to date, and I couldn't be happier. So,
Now, I'll be
um,
honest. I mean, I was looking through these earlier, and the level of detail is amazing. So I
thank you so much. Yes.
can just zoom into that, and I mean, stone textures and oops, there we go. All the furniture and the foods and stuff.
Yes, yes. Hand placed a lot of those, hand shaded, added more shading and lighting. It's just a lot of effort, picking the right flooring and the right, everything. So I enjoy it, and when I do get to use my own maps, it's a pleasure. So I hope other people enjoy it as well. So
So, what's your process? Do you like build the basics in Incarnate, and then you go in with Photoshop or whatever and start
it's
tweaking
mostly
things up?
incarnate, actually. Yeah, I
All right.
mean, yeah, it's very lightly touched up with affinity for like contrast, maybe, and coloring just a little bit. But I do all of the shadow work, lighting, anything with the art is mostly done in incarnate, 99%.
Awesome.
Um, I'm fortunate though, I'm part of their early access group, so I get the new features that they're working on before other like people do. So I've been enjoying some of the things that are in the works, like the new path tool, which allows you to make like the rooms a lot easier, and it allows you to draw the shapes a lot easier. If we go to the cellar in a little bit, I'll show you what I did with the path tool there. But yeah, there's just that's like 3 years of me looking for textures, and actually hiring some artists on Fiverr and other places to do some custom assets
See, all right.
for me. I also have a working relationship with Kaora, who is an asset creator, and they make lovely assets. I'm on their Patreon, and they have a commercial tier. So when I use their maps, I give them I mean, not maps, but assets, I give them a shout out. But this map is 99% incarnate. So
Nice.
it's a powerful program. It's come a long way since I first used it, and you can do a lot. And I strive for mood and I guess realism, right? So
Hmm.
um,
Now, the mood definitely is there, especially when we'll get to the cellar later. Yeah, there are some details that are,
yeah.
oh. But from what you're telling me, it sounds like apart from simply creating content, you're also basically managing it like a project because you have to, get third-party input in there and things like that.
Yeah, I do manage it that way, and I could just be making maps, but I want to build the network of other creatives because I
Hmm.
think there's lots of power there, right? To get to know these people and get to create things for them, because then I feel like I'm part of, the bigger idea. And that means probably the most to me out of all of it. So
I
I've
get
been
it.
enjoying it. Yeah.
Okay, the people in the chat are talking about how great the lighting looks, and yeah, it does.
Thank you. You should show them the night version.
Ooh, I definitely I'm
Yeah.
going to switch that, but first I'm just going to put down your
Yeah.
Linktree link in the chat. So
Oh, okay. Thanks.
if anyone wants to find any of the red map stuff on the internet, link is coming up. Okay. Hayok Adventures, and yeah, Dungeon Matron is wondering how long it would take to build a model of this.
A
Yeah,
module, like a Foundry
no, as
module?
in a physical model for miniatures and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
model.
I think it will
Yeah.
take a while.
Yeah, it's pretty complex. So I don't know. I guess it depends on the materials, right? And
I
I'm
guess.
not a crafter like some people are, but I have faith that someone out there could replicate this if they spend enough hours on it. So,
Okay, so let me bring up the night version of this scene. Oh, there you go.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, I love the way the lights read. I mean, you've got some cooler lights. You've got these places look definitely kind of warm and cozy,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yes.
the mood changes completely. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's like a mystery, it's like a murder mystery sort of vibe. I was trying to, you know, I could just imagine a rogue or someone like creeping through those halls there when everyone's asleep, trying to figure out a clue and whatever else. So yeah.
So do you normally make when you make your asset packs? Do you normally make like different variations of these? For example, day, night.
Yeah, it just depends. I usually bite off more than I can chew with all my maps, but that's because I like to make multi-level buildings and things like
Hmm.
that, multi-level dungeons. I don't have as many variants like other creators have. I know that some have like a massacre one and like this and that, a haunted one, which I do have planned. But for this release, I just did night and day, and I think I did a Christmas one, which is a little late, but there's like garland and a Christmas tree and that sort of thing. But on the list is like to make it haunted. I would make all the things look kind of broken and worn and old.
Mm.
So that's on my mind. We'll just have to see if I am allotted time to do it because I have some projects in the works. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to come back to it unless there's like an ask for it. Like, oh man, I really want this version of your you know mansion. So just depends. But yeah, I try when I make my maps, I try to envision what would be cool if I were gonna run a scenario and what
Hmm.
would I want, because I get to answer all those questions. And another goal I have for this year is to actually start my own like YouTube or Twitch and kind of go through each map and describe like the scenario ideas I had and maybe someone will find that useful. So we'll see how that goes. I haven't done it yet, but that's definitely
Yeah, I'm
on
sure that
the
would be
wish list.
super interesting.
Yeah.
I'd watch it. Okay, I see that Dirty Basement Terrain joined us. Hi, Lawrence. And okay, Chris is asking, are you interested in writing and publishing more of your own RPG content to go with your maps, like an adventure or gazetteer setting guide? What's your
Yes,
favorite?
actually. Yeah, yeah. So I do have a couple adventures written, but I'm shy. I'm shy to release them. I'm kind of a perfectionist, as you might be able to tell from my mapping. So like my writing skill isn't up to par with what I think it needs to be. So I'm always trying to find a better writer than myself. But I do have, yeah, I do have lore and I do have a couple adventures written. Um, you know, people have said they're good, but I'm hesitant to pull the trigger because once it's out there, I'm kind of stuck with it and it's going to bother me if I'm not 100% in love with it. So,
On the other hand, I mean, the world we live in, you can always put out a version 2.0.
yeah,
I mean,
true. And they say something is better than nothing. Like if you write something and you never let anyone read it, then that's worse than, it not being perfect. So,
yeah, and
I struggle with that, from time to time, but maybe I'll release a couple of those this year. We'll have to see.
I mean, you should. I remember reading the extra bits you did for pest control.
Yes.
That
Yeah. Yeah.
lots of fun ideas. So please go ahead, make more
Yep.
of that.
Okay. Well, I will take that encouragement and we'll see what happens then. So,
Okay, we have another question for you here. What's your favorite RPG genre to run or play in?
okay. Well, this is a fun question to answer. Okay. So, before Dungeons and Dragons ever, was introduced to me, I was a big fan of Edgar Allan Poe, H.P. Lovecraft, and things
Ah,
like that. Just the weird, off-putting kind of horror.
sorry.
Um, so that's kind of where I tend to fall when I write stuff. I like to make the scenarios that I run not very cut and dry, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there's no 100% bad and 100% good. You're not going to fight like a villain that has he's just evil to be evil, right? There's always I I always try to have my players be in the middle of a conflict and they get to pick the path they want to choose, right? Because that to me is like the most interesting, right? I can remember when I ran a scenario, um, they ended up siding with like this vampiric lich type of person over the other conflict because they were like, well, it's not it's not the best choice, but it's like, better than this other thing. So realism and gray matter conflict is where I kind of like to reside with, an overtone of like creepy, unsettling um vibes. It doesn't have to be like horror, like a lot of blood or anything like that. It just has to give a feeling of uneasiness and like something unexplained is lurking around the next corner. So
Yeah, totally.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, again, like I said, we've got some details in these maps that, okay, that looks wrong. Of
Yes, exactly. Uh, if you want to switch back to the first floor, like
course.
I purposely made the servants' rooms kind of feel destitute, right?
Those would be.
That's the second floor still. The servants' quarters are on the first floor. I don't know if you loaded that or not, but
1 second, let me see. I might have missed those earlier. Hang on a sec, please.
yeah, so this is just going to be one example of one scenario thought I had in my head, right?
Okay,
Like the
let me.
bottom left there. That's the servants' room. No,
Oh,
scroll over to the right just a little bit. It's the bottom left. Yeah, right
okay,
there.
gotcha.
So as you can see, it's run down, destitute. Like a scenario I had in my head could be like they could feel empathetic towards someone who works here and try to, undermine the Lord, or, there's any number of scenarios when you place things that are inherently wrong with the
Hmm.
situation. Like just comparing that room to like the room to the left of it, like you can see
Oh
the
yeah.
level of wealth, right? It's kind of like class warfare sort of thing. You could run that scenario with your players.
I
Uh,
mean, even stuff like the clotheslines and the bucket and
yes,
stuff
yeah.
over here. Yeah.
Holes in the ground and all kinds. my my favorite was the wash tub that's over the giant hole in the ground. I was laughing as I made that because it's like don't fall in, when
Well,
you're
but
taking
you
your
you do
bath.
you do
So
need drainage over there, so yeah, that works. That works.
yes, yes. Um, and another yes, as you can see, the dining room's very opulent,
Hmm.
uh, on purpose. And there's the music hall all the way to the right, which is very opulent as well. It has like the reception area with the bar, yeah, right there, and the grand piano. But yeah, that's another little servant room too, right?
Trapdoor.
And
Okay.
you like can even see that I chose to put like a furnace oven sort of thing there that's all broken down,
Okay. I,
and
I
they're right by the
there's even a
the
bathroom in here.
outhouse
There's a
toilets.
there's a toilet.
So yes. So it's you know, I'm really trying to paint that picture of man, they have it bad, right? And that
Yes.
could definitely be a scenario. But there's a little hidden secret in the library. Yeah, why don't you go down there to the bottom right?
Bottom right here.
Yep. And scroll over to the left just a little. Keep going, keep going, keep going, all the way to the edge. Yeah, as you can see there, there's those two slits in the wall. And if you look very closely to the rug, there's a track mark, and that suggests that that bookshelf can be swung open. And the room to the
Oh,
left
okay.
of that is, yeah, the room to the left of that is, the classic hidden behind the bookshelf room, and it has
I
a
get you.
yes, and it has a a storm door entrance into the cellar. And I always try to add little details like that into the map because who doesn't want a hidden bookshelf room or something like that? So yes.
All right, that's an awesome kind of detail. In fact, I think yes, Dungeon Matron asked, do these maps have interactive potential in game? So
I'm
I'm
sorry, I
guessing,
didn't understand the question. One more
uh,
time.
do these maps have interactive potential in game? I'm
Yeah,
guessing
so
it's
I
literally detailed like this.
yeah, I mean, I do make Foundry modules. This one's not out on Foundry yet, but yeah, you can configure the walls, lighting, and the secret passages in the framework, right? So when you're loading it up in Foundry, when your character's tokens come down here, you can have them make an investigation check or whatever your system calls for, and that secret door may be revealed to you about yeah. So there is interactive potential, right? So
Okay.
and yeah, another example is the pest control module that I've created. I made the spider layer pretty modular. There's three inherent distinct sections of the spider layer. There's like a abandoned mines area, then the spider layer, and then some like old ancient ruins of some lost civilization. And I made transparent overlays so the dungeon master could block each of those off into its own little area or open it up or only open one up. So you can interconnect them or not, depending on what your needs are. So,
Yeah, that's a lot of reusability out of a map.
yes.
Okay, we have a question from Ogbag's Adventures, who says, first of all, your awesome maps have been great for my Easy D6 games.
Thank you. I'm
And do you
happy you're
prefer
using
running
them.
any
Yeah.
specific tabletop RPG system?
Oh, yeah. Easy D6, I think I mentioned before, is my number one currently, but I've played for years ICRPG before that, just because I love it so much. And there's something that resonates with me where I don't have to concern myself with roles and like page flipping right in the game. That breaks immersion. That kind of ruins it for me personally because I don't care if it's 30 or 35 feet. I'm just gonna make it up when you want to do it on the fly. And I'm more of a yes man than a no man. So like, sure, you can do that. Why don't you describe it, and then I'll give you, a difficulty to roll, or the room target number or whatever. That's why those two systems resonate with me, because I can more on the fly kind of like react to decisions and not have to concern myself with rolls. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nothing kills a story like having to look up rules.
yeah, so it's at 30 or 33 feet, then I can cast my frost ray. Like, I don't care. I don't.
Okay, so let's see. I think it was okay. We can go to the basement map.
Oh yeah. So each storm door has some stairs that come down here, and as you can see, I tried to make it make practical sense, right? The bigger door, they would have the wine
Mm-hmm.
barrels or the ale, so they could get them back out of there. And then the littler door that's to the north, that would have like your wine bottles. Yeah, that's a little a little hidden area where they can complain about the Lord or
Play
how
cards or
things
whatever.
are and
Yeah.
gamble. Yep.
Yeah, I
Who
found
doesn't
this
want that?
bit especially creepy. It's got like all the little dolls, and it seems to be all torn up and stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I've learned to try to just imply little things, but not force an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that could be just old things, or it could be something more creepy, like an apparition that's haunting the mansion. They were,
But
forced
yeah.
to live down here and blah blah blah. Any of those scenarios. But I try to paint it in such a way where you can use it in a vast variety of things and not force an idea on the people using the map.
So is that something that you find easy to do, or is it something that you have to think through over and over? How does it work?
Yeah. Yeah. It really depends, right? Sometimes it's easy and the solution presents itself rather effortlessly. And sometimes I'm like, man, how do I solve this problem? I really want to include this, but I don't want to like shoehorn anyone into my own ideas. So yeah, and this is the littler storm door, and you can see there's wine bottles there, and meats that you would like, what's it called, like air dry or
Mm-hmm.
age, so, but
Couple
of
of
course,
mannequins in
like,
this room. Yeah.
yeah, that's just like the junk room. Everyone has one in their house, right? So mansion would have a little more. And as with the library, to that room to the left, you'll see two more lines in the wall, and that would lend itself to some creepiness that lurks beyond with an investigation check. Now, I do offer the basement, just a basement, or and this is the second one called Dark Ritual, which as you know flip the secret latch and peel away the wall, you know you get slowly introduced to the horror that is been plaguing the mansion for eons. And yeah, like, oh, why is the mansion so inviting, but yet there seems to be some weird occurrences? Well, now as you creep through this dungeon, you're introduced into what um what eldritch horrors await. So
Yeah, there's a big glowing green thingy, and that's never a good sign.
yes. And yeah, so you pick the lock on the giant gothic chamber, and you're met with the sacrificial altar, and obviously the bones of previous victims were baked into the concrete workings of the pedestal there. Yeah. And as we scroll up, you get to see the ultimate, the final encounter of some kind with some eldritch being or cult worshiper or any number evil wizard. There is a wizard room on the second floor, so like this could be where he draws his magical power from. Uh,
I,
any number of things.
I really love the depth of the textures here because you've got so many things going on. Just looks
Yes,
amazing.
I thank you so much. Yeah, I tried to really just make it feel big and ominous, like a giant wall of just gothic, horrible creatures in, this radiating, unnatural power. And I even added some roots to the bottom, suggesting that, you know, this might not be where the corruption is coming from initially. This might be where it has grown into. So lots of options for people to think about. Don't fall into the water, obviously.
Yeah, for obvious reasons.
That would be bad.
We're not even sure if it's water. But yeah, I mean, the texturing, as Tina is saying, the texturing on the floor here is just amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I very proud of this room. When I design my rooms, I always start with like the last room first. So I made this boss room first, just to make sure I designed it the way I wanted it, and then I latched on all the other things. So
Okay, that's an interesting way of doing it.
yeah,
So,
it's
but
like
that sets a theme for the whole thing, then, yeah.
right, and it's kind of like central, right? I put it in the middle of the image. It's kind of draws your eye to it. There's a lot of art theory also involved with my choices and my decisions. And as you see that stairwell at the bottom there,
Mm-hmm.
at the very bottom, that is the hidden bookshelf from the library. So
Oh,
you
okay.
come down there, and obviously it leads you, that's where the Lord or the wizard would go because he knows that way. So, yeah.
Uh, you mentioned that you've been an artist all your life, and I know you mentioned you were a drummer, but
Yes, I've
what other kinds of art do you do?
okay, yeah. So other than mapping, right? I've been a drummer for 25 years now or more. I can't do the math in my head, but at least 25 years. It started in high school. Uh maybe more than that. No, about 25. Um and back then I listened to Led Zeppelin and Rage Against the Machine and all those early early 2000s, late 90s bands. Um Black Sabbath. And I've been in several different bands, and I've had the pleasure of opening for a couple big name acts like Alien Ant Farm, if you remember those guys, or the Aristocrats, which is a prog rock band who's pretty famous for their guitarist.
Okay.
Actually, he's one of the best guitarists in the world. So that was really humbling opening for an act like that. But also like Stabbing Westward, I think I opened for one time, and that's been a great experience. But also, looking back on it, I wish I would have had an advocate when I was younger, because you get taken advantage of a lot in the music
Oh,
industry when you know no one likes to pay you to play music. So that it's really rubbed me the wrong way. But I continue to play music to this day. Um, just with my group right now, I-150, like EYEI 150. We currently kind of do this like not classic rock, but like we're very heavily influenced on bands like Santana, like old school
oh,
Santana,
nice.
Black Sabbath, and newer bands like the Budos band. I don't know if you ever heard of them,
Those I
but
have not heard of. No.
Budos band, yeah. But that's kind of what I'm into now. I do that every Tuesday night. We are set up for streaming live when we play down there, but this last year has been hard on us. The singer suffered some um, health related issues,
Sorry
but
to
we're
hear that.
back on track. Yeah, it wasn't great, but we're back on track now, and hopefully this year we'll be on YouTube and releasing our first album and all that
Oh,
stuff
nice.
under that name. So,
Yeah, be sure to let me
um,
know when you do that.
yeah, I will let you know. Oh, and speaking of crossing over, right?
Hmm.
The the other thing that we're interested in, I've kind of planted this seed with my band is we're gonna try to do ambient tracks for fantasy, but with a rock influence. So
Oh, I like.
yeah, everyone I've talked to says they're really interested in that, but it's really odd because for ambient music to be useful, it
Hmm.
has to have a consistent dynamic level and not change very much because you don't want it to distract the players.
Mm.
So it's the opposite of what our music normally is, which is very dynamic. It has its peaks and has its quiet parts, but for ambient music to be useful, I think you have to set it and keep it at a certain energy and a certain dynamic level as to not actually distract from role playing. So
Okay,
yeah.
so it's like I think that's a mistake that a lot of people do when, including myself, when they put a background music for a session.
Yes.
I usually reach for the music that I like, which more often than not is movie soundtracks,
Yes, yes, and
and
they
that
have
just doesn't work.
crescendos,
Yeah,
but it's for a certain part of the movie. It's scored for the climax, and you may get lucky, which I've also done the same thing. And once out of 50 times, right? Like that peak energy will hit at the right moment. But every other time it's like we're having a calm conversation and like there's a giant swell and you're just like that's just really off-putting. So yeah.
okay, so let's see. Sean Raider is saying Rosebud Manor is also a great map. Not sure I've seen that one. Grimwood Games is saying love this basement. Yep.
Hey, thank you guys.
Okay.
Appreciate you.
Campaign Terrain is saying I find a lot of people remember a junk drawer storage room, but they forget the loo. Yeah, that's we have a running joke about it. It's like what? Where do the goblins go to the bathroom? It's like
Right. I guess they don't.
that was why they're always angry. They just have to hold it in.
Just hold it. That's hilarious. Yeah.
Okay, and Ogbang's Adventures is saying, question, how long does it typically take you to make a map with these exquisite level of detail?
So each level took me about a week. So this project was about 3 weeks, and that's part time. I have a full time job, so this is like 9 p.m. I get the children to bed. I log in, I start mapping for as long as I can keep my eyes open, and then it takes me a week to do a level. So
I mean, that that doesn't sound a lot of time because with this level of detail, I thought it would have you had said about a month or something like that. Especially if you're
right,
not working on this full time.
yeah, I right, and I do feel the pressure. I have a Patreon. I don't like to keep them waiting, but I can't not do the detail, right? I just have to get it right. So I think if you're supporting me, you realize that, you know, patience is a virtue. So, um, yeah, there's lots of mappers out there that can just pound out the maps, and I'm just not that. I want to paint the picture that I have in my head, and I'm willing to take the time to do it.
Well, I mean, the attention to detail shows.
Thank you.
Okay, shall we jump onto the next map? Ooh, okay.
Yeah, this one's called the Eldritch Void, I'm pretty sure, and it was just designed to be a boss room. The final, like you open a door either in a mansion or in a dungeon, and you're greeted with, the final encounter where, obviously this one would probably be some like dark mage opening a portal to try to,
Uh-huh.
to gain influence or to end a world or whatever reason you can come up with in your head. But this offered a lot of cool encounter challenges. You know, there's a giant like void, so that's obviously dangerous. And you know, when you load this in Foundry, my Foundry module for this, the top of the screen's all swirly and lit up, and it looks great, including like the laser outlines. Like there's lighting for that too in the module, so it really makes
Oh,
this
okay.
map
So it's kind of like
pop.
animated kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
There's also 8 versions of this map, so it doesn't have to be Cthulhu tentacles, right? It could also be there's a demon one. Um, there's like a hell one. There's like an eye portal one. There's a Viking one too, where it has like giant stone statues for like dwarven encounters or Viking encounters. So this is very usable in any real situation. And
So
obviously, the color palette would change for each of those.
that is flexible. And so what you do is basically swap out these components kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
All right.
And this map was mostly Kaora. That's the second time I'm mentioning them.
Mm-hmm.
So th- this is actually the map that got them interested in working with me. I like posted this on their Discord and they're like, "Hey, so do you want to make maps for me too?" And I was like, "Yes, I do."
Nice.
So, yeah,
Uh,
pretty happy with this map.
it is
I
a beautiful
think
map.
it's yes. Hmm.
And like you were saying, the playability options here are really good because, can imagine kicking people off that thing or
Yeah.
swinging, jumping across it or whatever. Yeah, fun as games.
Yeah, or even like one crazy idea is like that ruin or that rune, I should say, right in the middle of the bridge, right? Like maybe the idea is to break the chains and make the bridge collapse in order to close the portal or something like that, right? So
Oh, yeah, that works.
any number of things, right? There's always a timer involved, or the bad thing is going to happen. So put the pressure on your players and watch them get crazy and creative. So
That's good stress. That's good stress.
yes, that's good stuff.
Okay, moving
Yep.
on to next one. Ooh, okay.
Yes, this is another Kaora commission, right? And all Kaora assets for this one, not incarnate. And this one is called the Tomb of the Lich Mangus. And the idea, obviously, that I had from just looking at this is there's a mana or some sort of arcane hole, right? That's ancient and mysterious, right? And then there could be a spirit, a lich spirit of some kind, like that was trapped in this area, and their essence will manifest, right? Yeah, obviously they're locked down there, but like the bad thing happens, and Kaora actually supplied me with a token, a boss token for this
I think it's
level. So
this one, yeah?
yeah, so good. It matches so precisely with the colors I chose for that. And you can imagine that chasing you around the dungeon as you're trying to solve the problem. Like that would be fantastic. I would love to play through that. So that's the idea I had. And if we go back to the map real quick, yeah, there's always hidden details, hidden secrets in all these maps. If you
Mm-hmm.
go to any of the sides, you can see those like yeah, like
Let's see
a
here.
partially flooded treasure room thingy, but it has
Oh, okay, I
um
see it now, yeah.
yeah, it's under the water, like the treasure just glinting in there. But I also put those trap sconces in there, so obviously there's gonna be like some sort of poison smoke or
Ah,
something
okay,
that
these
comes out
ones.
of there. It's filling the room.
I can see the bones of,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, there's always something to be said about each room. Um like the one on the right was sort of like a mad scientist. Yeah, right there. Yep, in the middle, or down there. But in the middle is kind of like the mad scientist, like reconstitute the lich who lived here by strapping some victims in those chairs and like powering on the whatever.
Bzzz. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just yeah,
One thing I'm really liking
countless
about
opportunity to be creative there.
Mhm. One thing I'm really liking about this map is the fog effects. I mean, there's some visible here, I think, but it was most visible
Yes.
around here and here.
Yeah, like some
That looks really
some
good.
fog is like radiating off of the mana pole, kind of like making the entire place like radiate with that power. It's in the air, literally. So, and you could use that to your creative advantage, like, oh, a wild spells. I know there's like a wild magic in D&D. You could, like, if there's a wizard in your party, you could be like, well, your spells aren't acting the same, so let's roll on this wild magic table, or spell failure, or it could get larger or smaller. Some bad thing could happen, like eldritch wise, if you try to use magic. So always cool options. Yeah. Hidden
Yes.
room, obviously there's going to be a monster of some kind in there waiting to tear the party apart, right? So just yeah, I just try to make it as creepy as possible, but also as open-ended as possible for the people to use whatever they'd like.
I mean,
Yes,
there are so many little beautiful little details. It's just going over the map is fun, just all by itself.
yes, yes. And even I thought even like the main doors being locked, right? So they'd have to either find a different way into the main room, because like that entrance where your mouse is with the stairwell there, that's like a
Yes.
hidden entrance, right?
Okay.
So it's behind the wall. Yeah, so just little things like that just to make it interesting and fun to play.
Beautiful.
Council chairs on the side, right, of the old gods or whatever.
Okay, so one second. This one was your collaboration with Karl, as we just mentioned, but you also sent me some tokens which you have gotten in collaboration with Nick Zen, if I remember correctly.
Yes, Nick Zen, he helped me create tokens for the pest control module. I included like 10 of them in there, and they're all this quality. Look how awesome that is. That's
Yeah,
just
for sure.
incredible. Like, it's a perfect like blend of cartoon and realism, right? It's like the grim, dark thing that I have in my head. And when he showed me them, I'm like, yes, please, more, and yes. uh
I mean, even if this
so
was a card token, I would be happy to play with something of this level of quality.
yes, exactly. And all of the tokens from the set are like that. And I included them in the pest control module because it says in the town of Marblewood there's like a gathering of military power to try to, like, you know um usurp the spider problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need some cool looking NPCs. So included those in there. And it's always an idea in my head to have like the rival NPC party that, like, talks down to you, and you know is things that are better than you, and tries to beat you to the end goal to get the credentials. So it's always fun to pit the party against an imaginary other party. So
Yeah, one day I'd like to try it out in a campaign level, so they just keep bumping into each other.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, I like the idea, and one day I'd like to try it at a campaign level, so that they just keep bumping into each other over time.
Yes, a recurring bad
Yeah.
guy is in, or a group is my bread and butter. Oh, do I love that, because it builds that history, right? And
Yeah.
every time you run into him again, you're like, oh, not that guy or not those people again. God darn it. They're always meddling, right? It's like this Scooby Doo bad guy, right? Always lurking, meddling behind the scenes, causing you pain with or without you knowing. It's great.
Do you have any favorite or go-to uh, tropes or storytelling pieces that you like to use because they work really well?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not afraid to use tropes at all. There are tropes like Professor Dungeon Master has said, tropes are there because they work, right? And they're fun. So don't shy away from them, but you can augment them to make them unique. I mean, yeah, like the murder mystery thing that I was talking about in the mansion. So I can explain to you one of the scenarios that I ran. Another mansion that I created had these secret tunnels, not tunnels, secret hallways behind the walls of all the walls in the mansion. And it did the classic thing where like the bad guy was like peering through a picture in the wall or whatever, like learning and listening all the time. So the scenario went like this. There's a lord who's very liked who rolls over the town now, and he's producing his world famous ale, and they all love him because he's bringing commerce and people to the town, and it's hustling and it's bustling, and everyone's happy. And so that's how they're introduced to this town. They come in there and learn about the world famous ale, and then things start to go wrong, right? Robberies happen, his product is getting sabotaged, and you're like, let's dive into that, right? So characters then find out that the Lord lives in a manor that used to belong to a different family. And what happened is the sons of the family murdered the Lord and got sent away to an asylum. More and more things happen, and you find out that the person escaped from the asylum
Oh
and they're
no.
leading the rogue underworld to try to subvert um, the control and gain their family's manor back, right? So there's lots of tropes there, right? There's like it's more like Clue, right? It's like Scooby Doo, Clue sort of things, but it really lends itself well for D&D purposes because you create all the NPC connections in between, and you unravel the plan where they're actually tunneling into the manor, and they're going to blow up the wine facility that's in the basement, and they're
Oh
going to try
no,
to
not the
kill.
wine.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to try to kill the current lord. So you're racing against the clock, and of course there's a masquerade ball in the final act, right? Yes. So those are all tropes. They all work super well, and I love it. So
Yeah, one thing I think is that because they're tropes, it's easier for players to understand them, especially beginning players.
yes, yes,
It's like this. Oh, okay, it's like that. I totally understand that now.
yes. And in my campaign where I ran that scenario, there was additional layers from all the other connections, right, that they've made that I'm not going to mention because they're kind of like weird, right? But I'll just give you one example, like that vampiric lich person
Hmm.
gave this lord a new recipe for his wine, and he signed a contract and was going to produce this wine, right? So there's this whole different layer, like what's in the wine. We got to like subvert this activity before it gets out of hand. Like you don't know what's in that wine that's going to make everyone undead or something like that. Like it's not good. So they also had to break into like the wine facility and try to steal this bottle of wine, even though they're trying to help the Lord, like prevent him from getting hyper murdered by the bad guy. So it's like a dual, they're on both sides of the fence there.
Multiple levels of
Yes,
stuff going
yes,
on. Sometimes you have to side with this guy, sometimes you and
yes,
other guy at the same time. Yeah, no, I really like that.
yes,
That's how you make a nice thick plot.
yes, yes. Very thick.
Okay, actually, I think we had one last token here. Let's see. Ah,
That's another one by Nick Zen. He sent that to me a couple weeks ago, and there's more variants of him holding like an axe and stuff because he does look like a Viking or something. So like very cool to have like Christmas scenario where he was also making what's the Krampus? He was making a Krampus token, so I
Okay.
could just imagine like some sort of Christmas scenario where like he's a Viking and he's like, I gotta stop the demon Krampus from blah blah
Yeah.
blah, you know. So
No, I mean, like, he
such
looks
a
like
good quality token, yeah.
it is, yeah. But he kind of makes me think of Swole Santa bringing in the gains.
Exactly, yeah. That Santa's got some arms on him too, right? He means business.
So for me, and I really like the style. Okay, so uh, what do you say we take a look at the community showcase? So people have been
Sure.
submitting their own work in progress and their crafts during the stream. So what do you say we have a look at them?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay, let me just bring that up. Okay, here we go. Oh, well, okay.
Wow.
I'm going to have to enlarge it 1 second.
That is large. Jeez. I have a
Okay,
question. Do you put that somewhere or is it okay? I thought it was like the whole room. Now I realize now it's just on the counter. I,
it's
I
still
thought it was
pretty
like a
large.
5 foot by 5 foot castle. I was like, my goodness.
Still
I
looks pretty
love
large.
the one on the left. That look at the stonework on there. Oh man, so good.
Okay, this one's from Tina Martins, or Tina the Machina, as we like to call her.
Yes, I love the little like is that grime or vines on the tower there? It looks so good. So good.
Okay, I'm not sure if this is her first or her second Hogwarts build, because I know she had built one for someone else and she was planning to build one for herself. So Tina, is this on
Oh, okay.
your first one or second one? Okay, we have details with the little lights.
You got lighting too. Oh my goodness. Wow. That is super cool. See, if you wouldn't have told me that was Hogwarts, I wouldn't have known. I mean, I've watched a couple of the movies with my children, but to me, this is like perfect to use for any
Anything, yeah.
grim dark scenario. So it looks crazy good. Yes.
Oh, super detailed windows. Nice. And let's see where it's going here.
There was a time before COVID where I was into mini painting for about a year. I enjoyed it, but I haven't done it for a long while now.
Okay, Tina is saying that this is still the first one, and there is no way she's going to build another one for herself. And just too much work in one, yeah.
Yeah, you get burned out when you make it big enough, but it looks great. So don't quit. Don't give up yet. It looks amazing.
Okay, one more also from Tina. This is something she built while taking a break from Hogwarts.
I love it. It looks like the Khaleesi's throne up there.
Guess it could be,
Those
yeah.
could, yes, this could be like dragons or birds or something. It's super cool looking.
Okay, beautiful work, Tina. Okay, now from Chris. Let's see. I'm not sure if he's timing himself in the background there. Was it because he left a note? Oh, it's way too large. Let's see. Let's go.
I like the cobble work on the bottom there.
Mhm.
Very nice.
Okay, so this is him trying to replicate one of Dirt Basement Terrain's builds, but scratch building it rather than basing it on a Dollar Tree toy house. And let's see, he's got another one from Chris. So this is a building that used to exist a few years ago, if I understood him correctly. And this is the 28 millimeter version of the same building that he's making.
I love it.
Okay, so from
Very good.
what Chris said, this is let's see, a building that was demolished a while back at the site of the new Runehammer headquarters in Philadelphia. All right, so it is an important site.
Nice.
Okay, and Sean has also been busy, and he's been printing and binding his PDFs.
Yeah, I actually saw that, right? You used your own printer for that, I think, and it looks great. I forget what model printer they have, but and if it's is the same one, but it looks great.
I mean, the binding looks excellent,
Very cool.
and the print quality is just fantastic.
Maybe I'll be reaching out to them when I need mine print. Old school essentials, nice.
Yes, and
Very cool.
some really clean binding. Nice work. Okay, so let's jump back in here. Okay, so that was beautiful work, everyone. And so, Eric, what are your plans for the coming year? You mentioned that maybe you might start a channel or a Twitch stream or something. And what else?
Yeah, so one goal, right, is to start a Twitch or a YouTube. I already have the accounts, but there's nothing on them right now. But hopefully the idea is to just go through each of my maps and offer the scenarios and ideas that I've had. And, you know, if I'm sure someone will find that useful. I'm always personally looking for other ideas from other
Oh yeah.
people. So yeah. Um, the other thing is I'm just going to continue to network with other creators. Offering my services to them and collaborating together. Um, for example, I already am in the works with House DM, if you've heard of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's creating a adventure, and I'm doing the maps for that. I don't think I can talk anymore about the details because it's secret right
Oh
now.
yeah.
But
Absolutely. No
yeah,
spoilers.
so yeah, so working with them, and I hope to work with my buddy Ogbang, who is we're trying to do some sort of like 5 room dungeon midi adventure one
Oh,
shots
nice. All
together.
right.
So yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Other than that, yeah, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just
No.
open to collaborating. So if you need a map, let me know.
Mm. Okay. But yeah, as soon as I have anything that is mappable, I'll probably give you a call.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Oh yeah, and of course the ambient sound thing once you get to it, because I'm definitely really interested in that.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's great news, and I'm sure my other musical friends would love to hear that too. So hopefully we'll have something for you soon, because
Cool.
we jam a lot. Like half of our practices, we play our set catalog, and then the other half we just create and experiment with ideas and see what works. And the plan is to use some of those for ambient tracks. So
Nice.
we'll see. Yeah.
Well,
But
sorry. You're going to say something?
no, I mean, this has been awesome. Thanks for having me. And
It's been a pleasure. It's been great
I
talking to
hope
you.
I was interesting enough. You know, I know you had Hank on here not too long ago, so it's really hard to follow that guy. He's a wordsmith when he talks. So
Yeah, and he's got a lot of energy.
yeah, lots of energy.
But yeah, I mean, I found you super interesting and really enjoyed talking to you. Everyone else is just here for the ride, so
Okay.
they didn't drop out, so I think they were finding you interesting as well.
Okay. Thank you. I'm not boring.
Nope, you're
Hopefully.
not boring.
Yeah. All
Absolutely not
right.
boring. So
So
thanks again
appreciate
for
you and thanks for having me. Yeah.
no, thanks for joining us. It was sorry, it was great fun talking to you. And thanks everyone for watching, and we'll be back in a week. So see you around. Take care, everyone. Bye.